Hey there, Margie Bryce here, bringing you the Krabby Pastor podcast. And I don't think you're going to be too surprised to know that it's too easy today to become the Krabby Pastor. Our time together will give you food for thought to help you be the ministry leader fully surrendered to God's purposes and living into whatever it takes to get you there and keep you there. So we're talking about sustainability in ministry. I'm looking at the title of this episode, and it's Adventures in Friendship, Sensory Deprivation, and the Lavender Farm. And that kind of is a little bit oxymoron-ish, isn't it? If you've ever been to a lavender farm, it's almost like that scene in the Wizard of Oz where it's like the poppies, this smell, this aroma, and you're like, oh, I think I want to take a nap now because, it's lavender and it's relaxing. And then at the same time, I've sort of tagged onto this sensory deprivation, but really the key to this episode is adventures in friendship. And I guess I have a unique set of friends, and they sort of think that I'm up for anything, apparently, because they'll ask and I'll go, oh, what? Do what? So first off, my one friend called me, and this is two separate friends, and it was over a period of years, actually, that these two episodes or adventures really happened. The first was a friend who, in the depths of winter in Michigan, if you can imagine that, asked me if I wanted to go with her. They had these saltwater tanks that you could lay in the water and you just float, and it's supposed to be real relaxing. And she said, I want to try this out. Will you come with me? And I asked her a few more, like, what? It's a what? And at the end of the day, I just thought, I probably need to get out anyway, and go do something else. And when she said the temperature of the water matches your skin temperature, I thought, okay, I could do this. So we went on this little adventure, and you get your own room and your own pod thing that they do close. I was a little concerned about that closing. I can be a little weirdly claustrophobic in places and at times, but you basically get into this tank and you just float. There's not a lot of water in it. I think it's just enough for you to just barely float in there, and that's it. That's all you do is you float. Now, I think it was for an hour, and I thought, oh, good heavens, what am I going to do for an hour with my brain in there? That was a challenge. So I did get in there and got less phobic about, if I close this thing, am I going to be able to get back out? Are they going to remember that I'm back here? If any of us have gone to a doctor's office visit and have forgotten that they put you in a room, and, a lot of time has gone by, and you want to go stand out in the hallway and go, hey, I could be dead in here, you kind of, those thoughts come back when you're about to just lay in a tank of water and close this pod thing over top of you. The lid basically is what you're closing. The water felt nice, and it was real salty, so you were like extra floaty in there. And you had the option too there was electrical buttons in there, which made me a little nervous, but I just figured, okay, hot tubs work, so this has got to be okay. All of this has got to be okay, right? So you could hit buttons, and you could make all kinds of colorful light show things on the inside of the pod when you're whatever. But I decided to turn all that off, and turning off my brain is not an easy thing for me to do, but I decided I was turning off all the lights and everything, and it got really dark. I was going to try that out, and if it freaked me out, I was within a couple inches of the panel to, turn the lights back on. And so I turned that off. So basically, I was pretty sensory deprived. If I opened my eyes, I could see absolutely nothing Nothing. I could hear nothing. I turned the music off. I turned off the lights, the colorful ones, and I just lay there and did nothing for a whole hour, just about, well, all right, let's say 45 minutes by the time I got myself mentally situated and figured out what I was going to do, which is nothing. It took me a few minutes to decide how I was going to do nothing. But I did for a whole hour. Just existed for, under an hour, to be honest. It went by more quickly than I expected. And this is not an advertisement for these kind of things either. What it might be an advertisement for is, if your friends have enough nerve to connect with you and say, hey, you want to do this crazy thing? You might want to go, unless it's parachute jumping. That I probably would draw the line at. I'm not a fan of heights and stuff, and definitely jumping out of a plane would not be high on it's nowhere on my any list other than the do not do this list. But it is an advertisement, though, for doing nothing for a moment. So I had a friend drag me basically into doing nothing for a time period and just be and just exist. And what did roll through my head, though, while I was floating there in the dark was this brings a whole new meaning to be still and know that I am God. That really did resonate with me, to just be who I am, know that God loves me in that moment, and just savor that. And it was also an experience of just stopping. Just stop. I mean, if you're really caught up in the doing, and you feel yourself getting a little crabby over it, it wouldn't be such a bad idea to find one of these little tanks and experience doing nothing. If you can't make yourself do nothing any other way, this is a good one. So I really was deeply indebted to my friend who said, hey, I want to go try this out. You want to come with me? So I just thought, okay, this is probably the craziest thing that I've done. And I still think it is pretty high up there for me. But I learned about taking friends up on their crazy ideas and enjoying an experience together, because we had a great lunch afterwards and just chatted about, what we thought about it and whether we do this ever again. And no, thank you. We did not want to buy a membership where we would do this regularly. Although I have to say, even though the gal pressured her best at the place, and the place wasn't close to us, we had to drive more than an hour. I thought, I should recommend to a lot of my ministry leader friends, we should all go do this once a month, to just lay there and just do nothing and float. You're not even supporting your body, There is a real benefit to this. If you can't stop yourself any other way, go find one of these tanks. So, and I'm sure they don't call it sensory deprivation. I think they call it a float. So that sounds a little bit better of a name. So I was really grateful for my friend who dragged me into that process. Hey, Margie Bryce here, and I have something free for you. If you are unsure of what your mindset is when it comes to self-care, if you know you should do self-care, but you're just not sure how to get that rolling, how to get started, I have a free ebook for you. And it is about radical self-care, and it will get you started thinking about it, and has lots of helpful information. Actually, what it is more than anything else is a journal style kind of piece that will help you work through the process of self-evaluation, so you get a sense of where you are with self-care. So to get this free ebook, I'm going to put a link in the show notes, and you can access it from there, and it can help you get started on the self-care that you know you should be doing anyway, and get you started maybe on taking some definitive action to ensure that you have the sustainability necessary to go the distance with God. More recently, though, was a friend of mine that called and said, hey, I want to go to the lavender farm and pick some lavender, harvest lavender. And I said, you do? She says, you want to come with me? And I thought, well, what am I going to do with lavender when I cut it? I mean, I still don't know. It's this fresh of an experience that it's still sitting in a big vase of water. And I still don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it smells amazing, I have to say. And then, of course, you want to go take a nap. But my friend, we walked out at the lavender farm, which I have never been to a lavender farm, which that's enough of a reason to go sometimes, as if you have a friend saying, hey, let's go do this, and you've never done that. That's the time to go. I think she's been out there a few times, and so I kind of felt like she knows what she's doing. And I always like to feel like I'm at least looking like I know what I'm doing, even when I don't. I like to know that. So I went to the lavender farm, and they gave us little bands that you can pack a bunch as long as it fits in this band, which is a lot of lavender, I have to tell you. And then they gave us scissors, and my friend and I tromped out there, and it was a great day, low humidity, not super hot, not super sunny. And this thing was huge. We just kept walking and walking. And of course, the Lavender Festival had happened a couple weeks earlier. And so there wasn't as much lavender to be had and to be harvested as there had been, she said, in previous visits. But we just kept walking and walking. I think there was at least 20, maybe more acres of lavender. So we just kind of wandered around out there and eventually we stopped a couple places and snipped and got our bunches of lavender, and we were there maybe an hour, a little over an hour. We wandered in the gift shop, which was very nice, and just kind of, basically putzed around. And sometimes that's a good use of your time too, is just to putz around in something that doesn't mean much more than being present in the moment. And if you're like me, if you're the least little bit visionary, you look ahead to what's coming, and sometimes you get antsy that today doesn't look like it's lining up with where that vision is going. And so then you get this internal thing going that you ought to be doing something to make that vision down the road happen. Or you're somebody that looks a lot at yesterday and you fret and regret a lot. Or you have stuff even for today that you can fret about and worry about. But sometimes, a trip to the lavender farm can just keep you in the moment and just enjoying someone else's company with your little scissors. It was not very, you notice that both of these things are not very demanding things to do. And maybe that's what my friends think I need. Maybe that's the issue. My friends look at me and go, you need to chill, sister. And so, these are the kind of invitations that I get. So we sauntered around, and then we went back to her place and had a bite to eat. And I have to say that for some reason in that moment, in that time together, and we're back at her place, and, we were just chatting, I ended up sharing some things that were very troubling to me and of great concern. And oh my goodness, she listened. And it was over a situation that had happened a week before. And she looked me in the face and said, why didn't you call me? Why didn't you call me? I would have, talked to you then. I was like, well, you just don't want to be that friend to your friends. And she said, no, I want you to promise me from now on, when something like that happens and you're that upset, you need to call me. And so it ended up being a very wonderful moment. It's a friendship that we've had since our kids were little, and that's a long time. I won't give you the number, but let's suffice it to say our children are adults and we've been friends a long time, and there were times that we were closer than other times, and it just was a very knit me together with my friend kind of moment. So, and that's not her intent when she invited me. She was just like, let's just walk around and snip the lavender, and lavender smells good. And well, what do you use lavender for? Because I've got to have, a function for what I'm doing at all times, which is, ridiculous in some cases. And, she says, oh, well, I just, cut a couple, I put them on gifts and I wrap it with, and I've received stuff from her like that, a little tie of lavender on there and, just nice little touches, and I dry it and I can be too utilitarian, let's just say. And so I just thought, well, I'm going to bring this stuff home. I'm sitting it on my counter. I think I might dry it, and then I don't know. But when I look back on our time together and I look at how our time together opened up the possibility of a deeper connection, and I'm very grateful for that. I am very grateful for that. God puts people in our lives for a lot of reasons, and sometimes it's just for a season. And sometimes it's just for a season. But while you have those moments, when you have your friends calling you to, let's go float in the tank, or let's go to the lavender farm, or whatever, take them up on it. Or maybe you're the one that wants to go float in a tank, or you're the one that wants to go to the lavender farm. Hey, be brave, and figure out who you could call to go with you. And if the first three say, no, thank you, you need to keep calling until you find that crazy friend that will go float in a tank with you. And we weren't in the same room, we just were, it was independent, kind of thing. Or someone who will go walk the lavender farm with you. I know I have a blueberry picking session coming up even yet this week, where I'm just, snagging some people just that I want to spend some time with. And of course, I am being utilitarian about this because I picked the entire year's worth of blueberries that we use in blueberry pancakes and whatnot, and I freeze them. But still, it doesn't take us long. And we get out there, we get out of our usual environment and just enjoy each other's company. So you want to sow some friendship seeds. You want to reach out to your friends, either be that friend that will say, hey, let's, or go along with a friend who wants to do something crazy, unless it was something like parachuting, in which case, no, I would not do that. But anyway, that is your challenge for an adventure in friendship. Reaching out and connecting with other people, it's going to make you less of a crabby ministry leader. It really does. When you take a moment just to refresh and relax and connect with others. So that is your challenge. How can you connect? How can you recreate in the moment, so that you don't become the crabby pastor? Hey, thanks for listening. It is my deep desire and passion to champion issues of sustainability in ministry and for your life. So I'm here to help. I stepped back from pastoral ministry, and I feel called to help ministry leaders create and cultivate sustainability in their lives so that they can go the distance with God and whatever plans that God has for you. I would love to help. I would consider it an honor. And in all things, make sure you connect to these sustainability practices, so that you don't become the crabby pastor.